The following program will make you want to grow things and experience new and wonderful dreams about your plants, garden, and garden design. Listener participation is always strongly advised. Good evening and welcome to Down the Garden Path with your hosts Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101. To contact us live in the studio this evening right now, dial 905-725-1907. Toll free in North America, 1-866-905-7325. Worldwide, 1-866-656-5477. Send us an email right now, direct to Joanne and Matthew. Our email address is instudio101@gmail.com. And now, right to your hosts of Down the Garden Path. Welcome, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Matthew.
Welcome, Joanne.
Thank you again, everyone, for joining us here on Down the Garden Path, where we discuss down-to-earth tips and advice for your plants, gardens, and landscapes. As landscape designers and gardeners, we think it is important and possible to have a great garden and keep it low maintenance. And we want to help you make it happen as well. I'm Joanne Shaw, landscape designer and owner of Down to Earth Landscape Design for the past 11 years. It is currently a design-only business here east of the GTA. With me is Matthew Dressing.
Good evening, everyone, and I am Matthew Dressing, horticulturist and landscape designer, and owner of Natural Affinity Designs. Natural Affinity is a landscape design and garden maintenance firm servicing Toronto and the Eastern GTA. Each week we enjoy doing Down the Garden Path, bringing you interesting, relevant, and helpful topics to help you achieve a great garden. We learn right along with you from each other, from our research, or from the guests that join us here on the show. So we always welcome your questions via social media, emails, or calls this evening.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you, everyone, for once again joining us down the garden path. And we're excited. It's just Matthew, not just Matthew and I today, but it is Matthew and I today. And there's so much to talk about because spring is in the air. And I know a lot of people are, gardening on their minds. And we're here to help you with what to do in the garden, what not to do this time of year. And we're really looking forward to your questions. We even have some great giveaways. We have a couple great giveaways for you tonight for our any questions that you write in. There'll be a draw at the end of the show, and so you have to stay tuned. And we'll have a couple of giveaways. And we're also keen on if you have any design dilemmas. Once again, Matthew and I are both landscape designers. And we would, later on in the show, we've got a segment on design dilemmas. So if you have a problem, if you have a question about a design area in your yard and you want our help, then please write in.
Yeah, write in and let us share your excitement on the journey of creating your beautiful landscape.
That's right. And, usually people always, when you tell anybody that you're a landscape designer in any social circle, they're always like, I have this spot, so we just want your spots and how we can help you for sure. And so this is we're welcome back to our regular monthly segments. We were, while it wasn't gardening season, we really didn't do them. So our monthly April in the Garden
That's right. So at the end of each month going forward, we are going to join you Monday night at 7 right now. And we're going to talk about everything to do in the next month, all those exciting tips and tricks. So make sure you tune in for that.
That's right.
So we do our regular opening segment. I guess it's time we can go back into our own gardens.
That's right.
What's happening? What about you?
Not much is happening. I'm seeing some daffodils kind of poking up. Lots of litter, which I hate. That's one thing the snow hides, right?
Yes.
I did take a picture of my Annabelle hydrangeas, all nice and brown, and with the looking winter interest or early spring interest. But I would say not too much is happening really.
No.
How about?
And how's the hell strip coming? Because I know you posted about that on social media. And
Yeah, I wasn't sure how that area was going to go. I planted some spreading blue carpet junipers kind of late in the season, so it was risky to plant them in that area, very close to the curb, because I knew the salt when the plows come in, that's where the snow and the salt is going to go. And I planted them, in late fall, but they still seem okay. So we'll see. Everything else there were perennial, so it had kind of died back. So
Nice.
we definitely will see. Not a lot of the mulch is definitely holding. Certainly the plows didn't scrape anything or damage anything. So that is good. Yeah. So I'm feeling good about that. And I'm excited to see it fill in.
Yeah.
And add some more to it. So I think I know I've got a few I don't know if you saw the picture 3 spare stepping stones that lead to nowhere, right? So once it all fills in with plants and stuff like that, I think it'll look much better, and I'm gonna add some more stepping stones. But
nice.
so I'm excited about that area, and I mentioned it in the show, but not in a while. So that area that's kind of close to your curb, sometimes it's between the sidewalk and your curb. Is often referred to as a hell strip because it's a really tough area. You've got people potentially walking there. You've got dogs. You've got kids. I'm going to cough. So it's a tough area to grow. So I have that. I don't have a sidewalk on my side, but it's tough because it's kind of between my driveway and the curb. And south facing, tons of sun and dry, and I couldn't grow grass there at all. So I decided to just rip the grass up instead of trying to grow grass, fighting with it, and turn that into a garden. So it's kind of like my health strip experiment / my less lawn experiment. So by removing the lawn and turning that huge section of lawn into a garden,
Into a nice big garden.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be exciting to watch come up and come through.
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely. And so I bet things are quiet on your balcony right now.
Yeah, quiet. Things are quiet on the balcony. That's for sure. I'm just kind of planning which seeds I'm going to grow. I think I'm going to be very much grow your own. So my window boxes with edible flowers and herbs and a little bit of a mix there. Picking what tomatoes I'm going to do, and I'm going to grow. Did I say picking what potatoes to do? Picking what tomatoes I'm going to grow.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to grow some more tomatoes and strawberries.
And are you going to start them by seed?
A few of them I am going to start by seed, yes.
Okay.
Other ones I'm probably not. I'll buy a strawberry, right?
Yeah.
I only grow one tomato because of my refined space, or my smaller space.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll pick the plant. I'll buy that plant.
A tomato plant.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But I'll go out and start my own seed potatoes and things like that. I like getting my little green onions and scallions right from the grocery store. We'll make nachos as it comes up to the time.
Okay.
And I'll use them, and then that little white bulb on the end, I'll just
Could we do that now? Is it do you think it's too soon to put them out?
It might not be. No, I mean, if you cut far enough down and you can bury them deep enough, but the soil's probably, I know my soil on my balcony, it's east facing.
Okay.
It's still fairly cold and half frozen. So, yeah.
All right.
So that's my thing. And then for anybody who has tuned in before and you are familiar with this segment, unfortunately, Nana has passed. And so I will be losing my big beautiful shade garden with Nana. So it'll all be small space, square foot balcony gardening from me.
Excellent. So that is sad that you lose some of those plants. Were you able to get some plants out of there at all?
Yeah, I'll still be able to get some plants. Japanese maples, some nice Japanese forest grass, some mucdinias.
I can volunteer my yard if you need a place to.
What do you need?
Right, Gary? Well, oh no, Gary's not there. We lost him, but that's okay. So yes. So that happened shortly before Christmas. I know if our listeners missed that.
Yeah, just after we took our break. So
yeah.
So we'll have fun with other gardens.
That's right.
Yeah, container gardening. You'll be in the ground, and I'll be.
That's
in
right.
Containers.
That's right.
So
You'll be in containers, so it's going to be lots to talk about for sure.
For sure. What's happening in the garden centers?
Yeah, what's happening?
Normal segment. Lots of stuff being unveiled. So I know today we just pulled out all of the sleeping trees and shrubs, and a lot of the more of the deciduous stuff. Everything's starting to bud very beautifully. The witch hazel's under there in full flower, so we're anxious to get her out. But all the fruit, we have little pixie grapes and the what are they called? They just changed the name. They used to be brazzleberries, but now they're the bushel and barrel, I think.
Oh, okay.
Series of the container berries.
I do want to try that this year. I do want to try some fruit in the container.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing something like that. I like the Perpetua blueberry, and because it's just so plentiful with its blueberries and it's self-pollinating.
Oh
so
my goodness!
Doesn't need another one.
So yeah, I definitely need that.
Yeah, so I'm on the edge of that one, but that's going to take up some good space. But
but it's in a container.
But it's in a container, so I'm just thinking I've only got one corner of my balcony.
Oh, okay.
That gets the full sun, and then the northeast side just is total shade.
Okay.
So I've got like a 20-gallon container, and then a nice big ceramic container, and then my window boxes are all up in sun.
Okay.
So I'm kind of.
So I will babysit your at my house. No,
I can get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Just have to save me something. Yeah, so all of that's coming open, and fruit trees and roses, they're typically the first to arrive, as well as some spreading evergreens.
Oh, are we starting getting deliveries already?
So we're getting deliveries tomorrow.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Tomorrow we're going to get a bunch of evergreens, mainly spreading dwarf evergreens and a few upright evergreens, but lots of stuff coming in. Pansies, the cool weather plants and things that we'll probably talk about shortly.
Yeah,
are all in and ready to go. So there's some great mixed containers. So.
And the one thing I did forget about was my hellebores are blooming. Yeah, so I took a good picture of them as well today. So I'll post that on Instagram. So I was excited because I just planted them last year at the end of, because I think they were a part of my Canada Blooms booth last year. Oh, okay. And so I planted them. So I didn't know if they would come back and if they would bloom. And so, so they look beautiful, nice white. They're kind of in a hidden spot. So only I know they're there, but that's what happens when you bloom in March, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So, but hellebores are definitely a cool plant. So.
Yeah, lots of really neat varieties that are out there to be discovered.
Excellent.
As we turn to an email, we're both kind of sitting on.
Yeah, who's going to say? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Hannah Prinkston writes in, love your show, just writing in to enter for the prize. Thank you, Hannah, for writing in and saying hello. And she's writing from Chicago, Illinois. So hello, Hannah. Yeah, don't forget we do have some giveaways as our return to our monthly show. So don't forget to write in with your design dilemmas for later in the show. We can talk about and discuss and explore that. But also don't forget to write in with any of your cool April questions or any tips and tricks that you might have that you've discovered for your April garden.
That's
and
right.
Enter the draw for the giveaways.
And I have an important question for Hannah, though. Is she like Chicago White Sox or Chicago Cubs? So that's my question for you if you're a baseball fan.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. But yes, thank you very much, Hannah, for writing in, and we're excited to have some giveaways tonight to share with you. Yeah, so April in the garden. So we already talked about that plants are arriving in the nursery, but is it time to really start planting?
Yeah, and no, not really. I mean, the ground is really still frozen. You can't really even get into it. You'll start to see.
Some of the contractors are saying, it's the frost. It's kind of debatable. It depends where you are. The frost is in or the frost is still out, kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But, they're saying that, I talked to one today and he says, well, we haven't had minus weather in a few nights.
We haven't.
but I still think it takes a little longer for the frost to leave the ground.
Yeah, I mean, the upper layers, the soil is definitely softening.
Yeah.
But I'm finding everywhere I am, and please write in if you're thawed out already. We're in the GTA area of Ontario, Canada. But we're still, I know at the garden center, we're still very frozen.
Okay.
Everything above ground, even the skids of soil are still really
still frozen. Okay.
And my containers and Nana's garden, because we're still there, but it's still also frozen.
Okay.
And I can't get in there. But yeah, I mean, and a lot of the so Hannah writes in, Hannah says, will I not win if I say the Sox?
No, that's fine. I'm fine for either one. I'm the Jays fan here, but I've seen both play, so I just thought it was always cool to know who likes who. So I've been to Wrigley and I've been to the other park, which escapes me right now. So yes, so I've seen both the White Sox and the Cubs play. So anyway, we segue throw a bit of baseball in with the gardening show.
Oh, that's it. I was gonna say, and you're Blue Jays?
Yes.
And I was raised Yankees.
Were you raised Yankees?
Yeah, and my uncle is the Cubs. So
okay.
Anyways,
there you go. And when my husband has loyalty to Detroit too, so we throw that in the mix. So there you go.
I think we need a sports show.
Yeah, I tell that to Gary. I would be cool to have like a women's sports show.
I would love that. I would love that.
I know.
You should talk to me about
If
that.
I didn't really have another job.
Yeah,
I would totally
We could
do
probably
that.
get a good sponsorship for that.
Could we get one? Yeah. Okay, I would love that too.
Yeah, that would
actually,
be great.
I'm such a nerd. So anyway, it is still early. I think it's even early to be out there walking on your lawn.
Yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, I've had neighbors out there raking today. I just looked out my window and I just wanted to cry. Like,
Yes.
I'm like, it's really not a great idea.
No, and especially with the leaves, as much as, everything's thawed and it does look messy with the leaves, you got to remember, too, they're housing beneficial insects and things that, like our native ladybugs, that's where she's going to be. And now you're removing beneficials from your yard.
Yeah.
That are going to come out and help you if you give them a little more time. So I agree completely. It is early. Don't go out on your lawn, especially when it's squishy.
Yes.
And softening. You're going to compact the air out of it, and that's going to affect the root and the vigor of the plant and the grass. Same thing with your perennial garden. Right? You can see those heaving, the perennials might be lifting a bit, but
yes,
those fibrous roots are out beyond the main core of that to gather food and water from beyond the canopy, and you're going to crush them and
by squishing them, right?
Right, by walking around them. So it is a tough thing to resist.
For sure. And that's a nice sunny day. I mean, it has still been pretty chilly, so it is the keeners that are out there. And I just think we haven't had a lot of rain. That is one thing. The snow's melted. I think it's coming this week. So that is something to keep in mind, because the more you're walking on, it seems harmless to be out walking on your grass. The grass is still dormant. It's brown, it's sleeping, and you're walking on it. But what happens is you are compressing, especially if that only a couple inches of that surface is soft. You are compressing it.
Right.
So then when we get the spring rain that we really do need, that water's just going to run off, right? You've now, any moisture you want into that ground, you're just really, interrupting that system, right?
That exactly. And I think we forget too, is it's squishy on top, but the ice and the frost is still in the ground.
Yeah.
So you're really walking on a piece of sod that, you're squishing between a rock and a hard place. You're chewing a sheet of ice. Yeah. So yeah, for sure. Definitely be careful in getting out there. Just kind of following up with our previous question about planting. I know when you get into things into the garden center, the trees and the shrubs, when they're dormant and just coming in, we are good to, are good to plant those getting into the ground, because they've kind of had some time. So make sure if you do put something out that you are buying it outside and it is either asleep, like it's a dormant shrub, and you can actually get into the ground. But again, it's still way too early.
I think to be able to dig a big tree, like a wire basket tree, you got to dig 3 feet down. I mean, I don't know that you're doing that right now.
And you're not going to do that. You're going to get a few inches and you're going to stop. I mean, we were moving things around today at my other job, and we were having trouble getting some through some of the mulch.
Yes,
even it's still frozen. So.
Yeah.
So just wait.
Yeah.
Just give it some time. Remember, they're waking up. They're all asleep. And I always draw the human plant analogy.
Okay.
We're most vulnerable when we're asleep,
Are we?
right?
From what?
Yeah, exactly.
Putting a pillow over our face?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that kind of thing, right? Like
Okay.
as people, as
Okay.
dark as it is, right?
Okay.
Though we're vulnerable when we're asleep unless
Right.
someone wakes you up. So the plants are asleep and they're exposed, and we don't want to hurt them. We need to let them kind of wake up on their own and toughen up. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good analogy. And I think patience. I think that's the biggest thing in spring. Is the word is patience.
Yeah, and I often say that too. Is gardening is the art of patience and change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the weather.
And the weather.
There's a few other gardening
things.
There's a few things we can end that sentence with. And for sure. And that's good. And I think the nurseries are bringing in, the pansies and the different, even maybe some bulbs that are, started, right? That you
Right.
so we can start to if you're really keen, then maybe start with getting rid of your winter container, pulling out. I know mine has gone brown. So my pine has all gone brown. So it might be time to empty that. Although I haven't checked to see, that could still be frozen too.
Yep.
But that's easier to pour some warm water on and kind of take apart if you really want to.
Yeah.
And then start doing, the pansies, the cool weather pansies and some bulbs and some forsythia branches or something like that. So you can get into the spirit of preparing for Easter with a spring arrangement, but really try to leave your gardens alone.
Yeah, and exactly. And great tip too, if you have your containers, we're always fearing of our containers, especially ceramics, of popping in the winter from the frozen soil and the water.
Yes.
And if you have a container like that and you've actually planted it as an insert, one of the benefits now is, you can pull that insert, bring it inside, hot water it, and flip it over and put it back out.
Right.
For sure. And get your branches and your bulbs and make it very versatile. I'm about to put some pansies out on my balcony. I just brought in my containers earlier last night, and they're going to thaw them out and start doing those. But
Okay.
So there's lots of cool weather. Pussy willows, dogwood branches.
That's right.
That's all out. There's lots of stuff to do above ground. Still.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Just watch too the pansies, for example. I'm going to put them out.
Okay.
I know we get them from a grower who shows, they'll send us pictures every year where they're out on their loading dock and they get snow, and they've hardened them off the way they've grown them. So they're pretty good to about, -3, -5.
Okay.
And a little bit of snow and they'll pop up as long as it's just kind of like a quick dip.
Right.
Yeah, very, very brief. But they do want to be out your pansies, your primula, your ranunculus, about 4 degrees.
Okay.
Is where you want. You can put them out during the day, but if it's going to get really icy, like tonight, I think it's going to be in our area. I think it's going to
gonna check the weather.
-2 or -3.
What is it? Yeah.
So you do want to bring them in as best you can. But I mean, today was beautiful. I was outside all day and half in a coat and not in a coat.
Okay.
And you can put those things.
Yeah.
out
Today.
for sure.
So today's 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So today's 4. So they're perfect to be outside all day today and enjoy a little pop of color.
Yeah. Excellent. So you have here in the notes, I'm curious, you say deciduous shade. What is it and why is it important?
So deciduous shade. Deciduous shade is a shady area. So the tree, if you look at a maple, right? Underneath the maple, it's naturally going to be very shady.
Right.
But right now and in the fall, it's very, very sunny.
Yes.
So deciduous shade is those spaces that are very sunny to start with or end with, but are going to leaf out and become shade. So the tree is deciduous and the shade kind of comes and goes. So, so your deciduous shade, just kind of tying into your primulas and your pansies and your ranunculus. A lot of the plants you're going to find now are very cool season. So even the bulbs, right? They're driven by that cool spring weather to come up. And when you get to the hot temperatures, beyond the 20s kind of thing, they start to realize the humidex and the longer daylight, and they start to putter out. Bleeding Heart, for example.
Okay.
She's more cool season than she is hot, and you'll find her in full sun. She kind of falters and looks ugly.
Yeah.
But she's looking for that cool season. So if you put her into that deciduous shade, you can have things like your pansies that people are like, well, they're such a short season. Maybe I don't want to buy them. I really like them, but they're going to throw it out. Put them in a deciduous shade area that they can leaf out and be in your garden or in a container. And then as that area develops, you still have that coolness and that brightness but not direct sun,
Right.
that'll keep them energized and flowering.
Yeah, because that's one thing. The pansies, they look like they want a lot of sun, but they
Yeah.
really don't want that much because
No.
they fry pretty easily.
That's it. Yeah. So if you put them in a very bright, indirect light in a shady spot, they tend to reward you most of the summer.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And that's a good idea for people to think of containers too, because there's those dark spots in your garden in the midsummer, like you said, that are shady. But now they can really get a nice pop of color, and so that's a good idea.
And that color can continue through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's good.
And it's also a nice little ornament. You can get a very decorative pot and lay an insert in there, and
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, so it's important for that. So it's protecting our some of the perennials, like your bleeding hearts, your old-fashioned one, and then your pansies and things that you buy that you don't really want to throw away, that really have a lot of life left in them if you put them in the right spot.
Yes, I've had that too, where if you put them in the right spot, it's amazing how long they'll last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
if you put them in the wrong spot, it's amazing how quickly they don't last.
they don't.
Yeah, for sure. And I think especially with the decline of impatience, really. And I think everybody should move away from using impatience. So, finding an alternative, that's one option, right? I don't think people think of that they could use, because they can get the pansy so much earlier.
Right.
That can, in containers, really fill that, part shade spot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's so many more beautiful, like Browalia springs to mind very quickly.
Yeah.
An annual. Fantastic little shade performer. Yeah, nice solid purples, blues, pinks, and whites.
Right.
It makes a little kind of a 1x1, 16 by 16 inch kind of little dome, but
little
beautiful.
Yeah,
packed together. They're nice too. So.
Yeah, and we are going to cover lawn in a few minutes, but Stan has written in and he's asking, and Stan, you get entered into the draw to win a prize. So thank you for your question. When can I put down the spring fertilizer? Yes, those commercials start so early, don't they?
So early.
Yeah,
and so does the little kid start walking up at your door and clink, clink, clink. Can I aerate your lawn?
Oh, there we go. And here's Denise is saying, please remind people not to aerate too early. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you, Denise.
Preaching to the choir.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Spread that everywhere. We're fast and furious here.
Yeah, definitely.
Ron writes in, welcome spring. Can't wait to get out there and garden. Very nice show. Thank you, Ron. Thanks for listening and writing in. And you two are entered into the draw.
Excellent. And but we're telling you not to get out there quite yet, Ron. So hopefully you will have the patience. And so as far as spring fertilizer, just to answer Stan's question quickly, and we'll come back to it a bit in the yard as well, or in a few minutes. But it's still a little early, isn't it?
Yeah, and kind of going back to what you were saying with the lawn and just the rain and washing things away, because it can't absorb into the ground. If you put it out there now, there's no one there to eat it if it does dissolve. It does dissolve so far down, but a lot of the synthetics, like your Scots, your CIL kind of things, are very highly water soluble.
Right.
So as they get rained on, they redissolve, and if the water shifts, she's going to start to leach that away.
Right.
Instead of down.
So you're wasting it then.
Right. So I always say just wait until, the beginning of May. When something's growing and has some growth on it, she's going to be feeding. So I wait till there's an inch or two.
Yes.
Usually 2, and then she's active and she's looking for some good food.
Yeah.
And
And definitely tends to be a temperature range on the bag as well. So if you've got a bag in the garage, to take a look, it'll give you some guidelines as far as the temperature, and also grass seed too. So I know a lot of people are keen to at least toss out the grass seed, thinking that they're, get ahead of things. But really that stuff doesn't start until nighttime. Temperatures are what, like something like 16 degrees at night?
It's like exactly.
Yeah. So really you're just feeding the birds. Or you're throwing it away.
Or just throwing away and it can be damaged. 16 to 22. That's that range of that. And our grass, again, and we can probably talk about it soon, is a cool season plant like our pansies, and that's one of our things we'll talk about lawn care later. But
Excellent.
So Stan, a little early.
Yeah, but that's okay. We can always skip and finish that up if you wanted to do that.
I was just going to say to Stan, the thing to be looking for now to put on your lawn is your corn gluten.
Excellent. And I want to do that this year too.
Yeah.
And you said something here about pellets, not dust.
Yeah. So if you do apply your corn gluten.
First, let's tell everybody what corn gluten does.
Great. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So let's start
there. Oh, we're so eager.
I know. So Stan, listen up. This is something you can do. And Ron, if you're keen, this is another thing you can do. So corn gluten does.
So corn gluten is corn, a byproduct, and it's mainly used for its corn proteins. And when you put the corn protein down on the soil, it dissolves in, but it acts as a pre-emergent herbicide. So when the young seeds that are there that are sprouting in the spring, remember
of weeds,
right? The weeds are going to be there. It will kill every seed,
right,
including grass, but the weeds are going to grow first, right? They're going to be your mid to end of April, beginning of May, or even earlier, depending on where you are and what the weather's like. So you're going to put down your corn gluten to prevent those seeds from growing in between and in the grass while the grass is still just waking up and before she can start spreading and doing her thing. So that you want to put down.
Right. And that's going to help with crabgrass.
Yep. Crabgrass, dandelions, any seed that's sitting at soil level that absorbs this will die. So that does mean that if you put your corn gluten down, you're waiting 5 to 6 weeks before you put your grass seed down.
Right.
Because it will kill your grass seed.
Okay.
It affects the roots as it develops and kills the plant.
Right. But we're timing-wise, we're okay because we were still 6 weeks away from really putting grass seed down.
Right. Remember,
so
just like you said.
Yeah. So that's why now is a good time to do the corn gluten.
Exactly. And that's the one, because there's always an exception. That's probably the one exception to the walking out on your lawn and doing something.
Okay.
You got to get out there and spread it, or you can throw it by hand, but
okay,
try to apply it to the worst areas, and they're usually on your perimeters.
Okay. All right. So now let's explain the difference between pellets and dust.
Right. So you get a lot of people, the pellets are corn and they will attract some animals. I mean, they can smell it. You will get squirrels and birds and things investigating. It's early. There's no natural food sources, or they're just starting. So, and they're going to be hungry, and a free meal is a free meal.
Right.
So the difference is, or a lot of guests or people are asking, what about the corn meal, the powder? They can't come and eat it.
Right.
But the corn meal does not have the proteins in the concentration needed to actually act as a herbicide.
Oh, okay.
And it's mainly used for a food like a
fertilizer,
an agricultural kind of food, like a farm kind of food.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what it's, but pigs and horses and
okay.
Yeah, like a farm food source. A feed, thank you. A feed. I could not come up with that word. And so it's used as a feed. So you don't want the corn meal. You do want the pellets because it's the proteins that you're after, and that's where they're producing them. In the meal, it's becomes something else.
Okay. Yeah. And that's available in the garden center now?
Yes, and then most of the garden centers should have something.
Okay.
It's whether it's in a pail or it's in a bag, and then depending on who you get it from, if you like Scott's or CIL or your local garden center, may have it branded as something else, and it's pretty much a 9.1 kilogram pail or bag of stuff. Covers 1,000 square feet ish.
And is there something like, because I know you promote the organic material as well? Is there such a thing as organic corn?
Yeah, I mean it's not certified
gluten?
or said it's organic. It's more of like a natural kind of thing.
Because it is the corn. It's not like it's a chemical pretending to be corn. It is the corn.
It is actually corn. Now, whether that corn was GMO or whatever else treated in its lifetime, that's unknown.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So that's the main difference when you get down to that.
Okay.
Meal and pellet.
And so then if we do corn gluten now, in 6 weeks we do the grass seed. And that's also when we would do any top dressing. Yeah,
that's when you're going to top dress, and you can start doing your fertilizer, if not a little before that.
Right.
And the corn meal look at all me already. The corn gluten will have a natural fertilizer in it, and that's where you get the 911 type thing coming out of it.
Excellent. And the aerating should be done around that too, right? Because you want to have that when the grass, you don't want to do it too early, because the only thing growing when you disturb all those roots is the weeds. So really, if you do it too early, in addition to compacting the soil and doing a lot of other things, you're actually encouraging lots of weeds. So we definitely want to hold off, right, until the grass is starting to grow at the beginning of May.
That's it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
want that grass to be coming up to 2 inches or so, and make sure that the lawn is dried out. And the grass, when it's actively growing, can fight and compete with the weeds, where when it's not, it can't.
Right.
Yeah. So
Right.
you're really bringing up all those seeds that the grass has fought for so many years for you to hide and prevent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, there you go, Stan. So you've changed our order of things, but thank you very much. I hope we answered everybody's question.
Yes.
As far as lawn, Larry's written in saying, hello, love the advice, exciting, and looking forward to gardening. Yes, we all are, definitely. But it's good to know what to do when.
That's it. Exactly.
Oh, great. Madden wrote in again. Thank you.
I was going to say, Madden, you're becoming a regular.
Yeah, that's right. But they get to win a prize, chance to win a prize today. So,
yes. So Madden writes in, what about if I still have a lot of leaves on my lawn? Do I rake them up before I put down the corn gluten? And yes, you can, and only if they're really matted in. Like in our area, we had such a freeze and everything kind of dropped, and some places we weren't able to get out to get them. So yeah, if you have really thick matted leaves everywhere, then yeah, for sure. If you've got a few kind of little patches, and they can just kind of fall through and get into there,
right.
you're going to be fine. Yeah,
Okay.
a half dozen or so in clusters every few square feet. That's
not a big
perfectly
idea.
fine.
Or even about raking them to the side, because again, then you could be having the beneficial insects in there.
Yeah, exactly. Or just pushing them to the side, or or relocating them to another part of the yard. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't destroy them. Yeah, and you're out there anyways, going to be doing the corn gluten, so yeah,
Right.
you can take them then too. But
Okay. Great. Thank you for the question, Madden.
yeah. So we do have 20 minutes left in the show.
Time is
Lots
flying.
to
There's so much
cover.
to cover.
Don't forget, we are giving away some giveaways as a return to our regular monthly What to Do in the Garden show. So don't forget to write in with your question, your own tips and tricks. Just tell us
right.
where you are. Say hi. Love to hear from all of our wonderful listeners. So where were we? We were before lawns.
Yeah.
which
So
is a
we're
plant.
talking about the timing. So now this time of year, everybody's always keen in January for seed starting when it's way, way too early. But now we're kind of coming up to the time, right?
Yeah. So now we're getting really main into your seed starting for sure. A lot of the varieties are out in January, like you said. We get eager. A lot of the seeds do come into stores.
Yes. They ship them out early.
Right. And
The
that's
catalogs early.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's perfect to go get them, but yeah, like you said, it's a little early to start them. If you look on the packages, know your average last frost date. So we're in the Toronto, Ontario GTA area. Ours is May 24th. That's
Okay.
why
Is that really official?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's May 24th, May 21st-ish
Yes.
kind of thing. I think May 24th, like you said, it's very easy just to kind of call it because it's the big weekend, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But that's why it's also so busy. Kind of it's around that last frost
Yeah.
date. So you want to start so many weeks in before, depending on who you're planting, inside. So we're on just underneath, like we're week 7 and 2/3, or week 7
okay.
and so many days.
Yeah.
3, I think.
So this is the week.
Right. So if any of your seeds, you say 6 to 8 weeks indoors before, now is the time to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
And some things have a shorter time, right? Some
Yeah.
things are a couple weeks, 3 weeks, and so there's still time.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Exactly. We
Excellent.
just want to start them. Mainly, you start them indoors because you get your tomatoes and your peppers, right? They take like 120 days to maturity.
Yeah.
And that's 4 months. But do we really have 4 months of growing season before the frosts and
Yeah.
things start coming back? No. So you want to get them ahead so that you can start taking,
Right.
trick their clock and get their fruit
Yeah.
type of thing. But yeah,
Definitely.
like you said, you can, yeah.
And we need time to harden them off, right?
Yeah, so you do want to, if you do have anything, they're growing indoors where it's 20 degrees Celsius, right? It's beautiful in our houses, but it's much cooler outside.
Yeah.
So you want to put them out during the day when it's 10 or higher.
Usually with the lid still on, right?
Usually with the lid still on so they don't get wind struck or sunburned, and it just slows the cooling inside the dome and the soil.
Right.
So gradually cools them. They get used to being so cool, and then at night you're going to bring them back in. So as it starts to get really cold, or if it switches really quickly, you want to bring those back in. And
Okay.
about, like your tropicals, a week and a half, 2 weeks, depending on who you are, you want them out there, harden them off, and then you're going to be safer to plant them out in the garden around your average last frost date or beyond.
Okay.
Remember, if we're going to get it like 2 years ago, we had that frost.
Yeah.
On May 29th, it was a really hard frost. It doesn't matter what you hardened off. It's probably going to be burnt for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We've got I know, we're both seeing the email. So thank you for writing in, Blaine. He says, hi, Joanne and Matthew, longtime listener from Halliburton. He wanted to say thank you to both of us and great show. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Blaine.
We really appreciate that. So that's excellent. So you still have winter. I bet the ground is frozen up there, right? Now we talked I hope our listeners tuned into last week's show, which was amazing about beneficial insects. John covered so much. So we do want to speak to that a little bit, right? That some of that stuff we can kind of get ready if we want to introduce some of the hopefully there's beneficial insects already existing in our gardens, but if we do want to improve on that, and helping with, bad pests and diseases, that type of thing, that we can start introducing some of those, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so if you missed last week's show, definitely check us out, the podcasts, iTunes, Google Play. You can go to Joanne's site, down the number 2, earth.ca. John is fabulous with all of his information. But he was telling us last week about mason bees and leafcutter bees and the cocoons. And you can put them out in mid-April as the temperature warms up. You have to secure them to something on the south or the east. And they're going to be the masons are going to be one of the first bee pollinators to jump out there. They're going to collect their pollen and gather stuff and wake up the females and mate and go. But they are super pollinators to the point where, like on a cherry tree, for example, one mason bee will do the job of 60 honeybees on a cherry tree. And that's a smaller ratio for what they'll do with other things and other things in your garden for early food sources and fruiting things as well. But things like praying mantises.
That's right. Isn't it too early or no?
No, because the praying mantis case will actually overwinter outside exposed in the upper grasses. Yeah. So if you want to introduce praying mantises in your yard, now's the time to go out and find the cases in your local garden center, and you can put them out, hang them outside in their little bag, hang them at waist height or hide them somewhere where it's warm. And the egg hatch with sunlight cues and temperature cues. Certain amount of temperature and daylight hours. Yeah. They'll hatch when they're ready, and they'll spread out, and they'll do their thing.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Well, that's good to know, but it is too early for ladybugs, right? Yes. And that's the other one that John talked about. So, yes.
Yes. So, everyone eager for ladybugs.
Yes.
Yeah, give them some time. You're going to find them in the beginning of June usually.
Okay.
And they'll wake up, they'll mate, they'll do their thing, and then they gather those guys. Yeah. And they send them out, and they'll live and mate some more.
So that's too early. And we did talk about, I don't know if you tuned in last week in my little story about the praying mantises hatching inside my house. And I was curious as to whether my kids remembered that because and they did. And even my mother-in-law was listening, and she's probably listening again today. And she remembered the story. And then when I told my husband what we were talking about on the show, he goes, "Oh, did you share that story about the praying mantis?" So it's definitely a living legend in my house of me hatching hundreds of praying mantis in my living room. So you have to tune into last week's show if you want to hear that story. But thank you for everybody listening tonight. And we're excited to draw some names in a few minutes of some prizes that we want to give away.
Yes, so write in quickly. Chase writes in, as usual, great advice. Thank you. So Chase is entered into the competition.
Excellent. So, we've covered a lot. I can't believe time is just flying.
We have, actually.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't talk about perennials, dividing them. So, because it is still pretty early. Yeah. But, by the end of April, because this is April in the garden. Right. So, the first couple weeks of April, we are saying take it easy. But there are some perennials and shrubs and stuff that prefer to be transplanted in the spring, or sometimes it's even easier. I think it's a good time to do hostas before they start poking out too much. I think it's a perfect time to divide them. If you wait too long, then they get leggy and they're like, all season. Yeah. So that's something to think about. If you do have some patience for the beginning of the month of April, but near the end, you can start coming up with a plan of what you want to divide, ornamental grasses, definitely hostas, that type of thing. Yeah. So what other, I'm trying to think of any other really perennial that you want to divide that maybe has gotten too big.
Yeah, exactly. I went through some of our old show notes and we were talking about perennials in general. And I was just going through all the perennials and it's like, when's the best time? And it's marked off. And basically, I'd say like 80% of everything on our list says a really good time is for your spring, like your April, May to get it done.
Yeah, for sure.
Divide things. So,
and but also look at the weather and common sense. Like if we've had 2 weeks of rain and that garden is wet, even though it's spring and the plant would much prefer to be divided in that time, if the ground is too wet, it's still, I think, better to stay out of the garden than it is to divide that hosta.
100%.
That kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
But definitely things like anything that's going to bloom this spring. So not the time to move a lilac, not the time to move a peony, not the time to move anything that's going to get going this spring.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, your rhodos, your azaleas, your magnolias, the things you planted last year that you might want to move again because you don't really like the space. Yeah, let them bloom. Yeah, let them do their thing. And then do that. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So yeah. And I had a question and then just went right out of my head.
Perennials, dividing, annuals, tropicals.
Yeah, no.
Well, come to us and then we'll talk about it another day.
That's right. Spring pruning. So pruning. Let's talk a bit about that. I know we've just got a couple minutes. But there are a few things that if you are going to be careful in the garden that you should, if you want to cut back, now is a good time to do it, right? The early spring.
Yeah. So you're mid-April, even right now. But again, going out in the garden. Like your Rosa Sharons, you can do your hydrangeas if you haven't done them.
Right. That'd be a good time for like limelight, where you kind of really have a hard time if you need to control the massive growth that they have. Now is a good time to go out and kind of cut them back hard, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, those paniculatas, anything with that cone.
Right.
Get them hard. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you've had some problems in the past, where the blooms start to kind of get so big, there's so much growth and they fall over. Just try not as hard, like hit it hard, but leave a few main scaffolding.
Right. Or sometimes I say 1/3, right?
Yeah.
Cut every third branch much lower.
Exactly.
And the other branches a little, you still cut them back, but don't go all the way down. So you're not trying to create little balls of, you don't want them all to grow like that, right? So you can't cut everything the same, a foot from the ground. You need to have some at 2 feet, some at 1 feet, some at 18 inches. Like keep it mixed because that's the natural growth habit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. As the plant ages, the wind takes this limb and this limb. Leave some other ones behind. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. But it's not the time to start cutting, pruning cedars or boxwood or anything like that.
No, it is best to leave it. Like the only pruning I would do there, again, waiting to get out there at the right time, is maybe some of the dead stuff. Like if it's warming up and you're finding that, you've got wind burn. Okay. Just while it's cool, just a light, very light shearing of that. Okay. But yeah, you are correct. The main time you want to be doing this is your mid-May to mid-June. Yeah. Let that growth come back, and we'll talk about that in May for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think it's still so risky. I mean, April can be so flaky. We can still get some really cold. Oh my goodness, I hate to say the word snow, but we still could get it.
Most
look at the East Coast. The East Coast is getting of the U.S. and Canada and Nova Scotia. They're just getting slammed.
That's it.
And I know we have listeners everywhere, so I'm sure we're all happy that it's sad for them and happy it's not for us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that weather. I always like, the saying, whether it's this, whether it's that, that's why they call it weather, right?
Oh, there you go. There you go. You need a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, thank you, Gary. Gary has just brought in all of our names for our magnificent little giveaway here.
That's right.
April in the Garden.
April in the Garden show. So I'm going to do.
So Joanne is mixing them up. She's
2 or 3.
Do we want to do 3?
We'll
What do we want to do?
Yeah,
We want to
we'll
do 3? Okay.
Yeah, we'll do 3 because we had so many great listeners tonight.
There we go. So we'll do the 3. So the first
drum roll. Do we get a drum roll, Gary? No, get a drum roll. Boom, boom.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
I have to get one of those cues. So Denise Otam, I hope I pronounced your last name correct. You will be contacted. And
That's right. Congratulations. Hopefully you stay tuned in. And our next winner is Stan Liscombe. Thank you very much for your question, Stan. And your segue, you segued us right into the lawn segment. So thank you very much for that. And our third and final prize winner
is Larry Broader. Congratulations,
wow, you guys are
Larry.
giving out 3 today.
We're going to give out 3. I know.
That's incredible.
Well, we were just, this was exciting. So definitely we are going to give out 3.
We're going to give out 3. Yes.
So we want to thank everybody. Thank you for our longtime listeners. There's and again, we do want to let everybody know that you are available if you have questions outside of the show. You can always reach us on social media. My website is down2earth.ca with the number 2.
Yeah, and mine is naturalaffinitydesigns.ca. And all of our links to our various social medias are there.
That's right.
Don't forget to explore Joanne's website and find all of the past links to the past shows and the podcasts if you've missed a couple of episodes.
Yep.
And we've got some really exciting shows coming up for you this month as well.
That's right, we do. Although we don't have a show, Monday is Easter Monday. That was a good time to tell you, Gary, that we're not going to have a show. No better time than any. We'll let everybody have a lovely Easter Monday. But we'll be back at it the following week. And that's when Lisa joins us from Hortus TV. She's a repeat guest, and I'm excited. Hortus TV has expanded quite a bit since she's been on, so I can't wait to tell you all about that.
Mm.
And then we're going to learn all about what's going on in horticulture at Durham College here, and that's a college here east in Durham region, which is east of the GTA. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, they've got some really cool in-house programs that are branching out into for their hort students and landscape students that are really kind of shaking it up and really exciting news.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's great.
Do we want to, let's say we've got the whole month planned out well.
We do. Well, Kaylee, so my friend, we were talking about, we do want to have some design focused shows.
Yeah.
And, I always do that analogy when it comes to design that people would never take a sledgehammer to their kitchen cupboards. But for some reason, Saturday mornings wake up and take a shovel to their gardens. So we actually have, so Kaylee is actually a kitchen and bathroom designer, but we're just going to talk about design and there's a lot of parallels to what you do and how you think about design in your home as well as outside your home. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited to have, because I think sometimes people get it for the inside, but don't get it for the outside. So I think it's going to be a great show for us to chat with Kaylee, and she knows the pain points and that we know, and so I think it's going to be really great.
I agree.
To talk design. So
I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
And then, believe it or not, it's April 30th, and we'll be talking everything May in the garden, and it'll be warmer, and we'll all be even more excited than we are right now.
We will be, won't
outside.
we? We will. So please, we do really want to start tackling some design dilemmas. So we hope someone will think about it for our show with Lisa in a couple of weeks, and we're really excited about that.
I was just thinking, they're all at home thinking, you just told us we can't go out into our garden. We don't have anything yet.
That's right. Sorry about that.
So I'm sure they'll come up with them. But
yeah,
so that brings us down to the end of another exciting show.
It does. Wow, the time just flies.
Time just flies.
Down the garden path.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you not next week, the week after.
The week after. And thanks for listening to Reality Radio 101. And we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Down the Garden Path with your host, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101.